Hey, guess who's back? So I don't know what happened. My camera got lost. So the last part of that is just me on my hands and knees trying to fix my stupid camera. Now we're gonna talk about pretty things. We're gonna look at some nice things. And in case you're just happening to like just jump on onto this is stuff I find interesting. Episode 68, part 2. I think I'll be able to put the two together. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. Pretty things. Looking at pretty things. This is an artist that I like a lot. I don't know what's going on here. I'm having a rough time, guys. It's not going well. Oh, look. I was talking and there was no microphone. So this is stuff I find interesting. Episode 68, part 2 of episode 68. And what had happened was, in the previous episode, my camera went missing. And then I tried to fix it, and then I didn't realize that the thing was still recording. But you know what? I'm going to leave it and put it up anyway, so I don't care. Maybe it'll be more exciting than me talking. I'm not really sure. Anyway, this is my favorite picture by him. This is amazing. I love this picture. Save. We're saving it. More pretty stuff to look at. Jane Husham. So she makes collages of things. Here we have a collage of spoons, sequins, legumes, interesting, pictures of horses, bones. I like making collages. Looks like she makes paintings too. Let's look at the paintings. Huh. Clown women, skater girl, Lindsay, Brittany, and Paris in their car. I remember when that happened. When did that happen? I was working as a financial planner, and I didn't have enough work to do, and I was in a windowless office by myself. A recipe for disaster. And so what did I do? I played video games, and I looked up gossip sites. And I remember when that happened. This is something kind of neat that I found this week. The Saga of the Hochdorf Lion by Trellin. And I saved this on Medieval Cats, which is a place I like to go to. Oh, yeah, there's something wrong with Reddit. I don't know what's going on. That's very strange. Let's go here. Is Reddit down? Yep, Reddit's down. Okay. I always like to make sure it's not me because I always assume I did something terrible. Like, I don't know what. Like, what would I do that's so terrible? Post one too many cats? Anyway, Medieval Cats on Reddit is where I hang out. You can find me. I posted this. Unlike here, which is very sporadic, Medieval Cats I go to every day. Every day I'm there. I've been posting Medieval Cats for a couple of years now. So when people ask me what my hobby is, I say, you better hang on to your underpants, boy, because I got an exciting one for you. The Saga of the Hochdorf Lion. Buckle up, Imgur. It's time to go on maybe only slightly interesting ride to 2500 BC, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Just kidding, obviously. The scene, southern Germany. The people, the Celts. The time, really? I just told you that, 2500 BC. The Hochdorf chieftain's grave is a seriously impressive burial site. When it was built, it was 6 meters high and 60 meters, 200 feet, across. When it was discovered in the 70s, it had been eroded down to 1 meter high. Archaeologists studied the grave inside and then restored it to its full size so it looks cool again. Here we can see a picture of it. If we enlarge it, this would have been the king laying on his gold. Yes, I believe that whole thing is gold. Golden throne. We've got weapons, cart, all kinds and manner of things. What they found inside was one of the most lavish tombs outside Egypt. Whatever the Greeks and Romans said about Celts being uncivilized barbarians was all propaganda. The Celts really appreciated expensive stuff, and they controlled trade routes all across Europe, and grave goods have been found from all across Eurasia. The Homischel burial mound had silk inside, imported all the way from China to rural Germany more than 2,500 years ago. So that should give you a good indication of how connected people were. They weren't totally disconnected. The Hotchdorf chieftain was an absolute giant of a man by Celtic standards at 6 foot 2 inches. He was also apparently pretty rich. He was laid out on a bronze couch, wore a gold torque, amber jewelry from the Baltic, and even had fish hooks with him. This was a guy who had enough free time to go fishing even in the afterlife. But we don't really care about Homischel, the afterlife of the Hotchdorf chieftain today. All we're interested in is his cauldron. Here's the cauldron. Hammered metal. We've got 3 handles and then 3 lions that adorn it. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's so cute. No, you could fit 100 gallons of honey mead in this thing. Like, it's huge. Like, each one of these lions, I think, is a foot big. So, like, if you whack somebody with it, you could really do some damage. Anyhow, you see, the Celts were really big into trading. If it weren't for their trade-controlling hill forts and their amazing ability to pick up new skills, they'd have been written off centuries earlier. They got seriously, seriously rich from trade down the river Rhone to the Greek city-state of Massalia, and from there all across the Mediterranean. The cauldron was a pretty snazzy piece of Greek workmanship, and it was huge. At one point, it held 100 gallons of honey mead, but then archaeologists came along and they were tired after digging, and it was a nice sunny day anyway, so they just, well, okay, it probably just evaporated or whatever in the intervening 2,500 years. Anyway, the cauldron, it's big and fancy, and it's all the way from Greece. Around the rim of the cauldron, if you looked at the pictures, are 3 lions. They're also pretty cool. Each of the lions is just over a foot long. Made out of bronze, they are just awesome pieces of craftsmanship. I mean, look at them. They're extremely realistic and extremely expensive. Probably a bit too expensive, to be honest. And this meme says, nice lion you've got there. It'd be a shame if something fell on it. Yes, something happened to it. I don't actually know what, but it was bad. One of the 3 lions broke. The Celts, of course, being the innovators they were, sorry about that, guys. I wanted to close the door. Good God. So the Celts decided they didn't need to send it back to Greece to fix it. They didn't need to order a new lion, and they definitely didn't need somebody to come fix it for them. They did it themselves. So here we have the lion. See what the lion looks like? This is what happened to it. Yes, they made a rat. Apparently the Celts weren't as good at bronze sculpting as they thought. Normally they were wonderful at learning new skills, and their ironwork was better than Rome's. But would you just look at the face on this lad? Like, just no. In their defense, they'd never seen a lion before, but they had seen 3 perfect representations of lions. Really, when you make something that looks like this, you have no excuse. And this thing is really not like this. What? Oh my God, what is this? It's like social hour. Got noise, we got people yelling. All kinds of crazy stuff going on. Okay. So that's the story of the Hotchdorf lion. And now you know. This is an etching of a Sami drum from the Dutch edition of Johannes Schaefferus's Laponia in 1682. So he traveled to Lapland and he drew this in his little journal. And this was on the head of a drum. All of this. So I think he put the numbers in. Yes, he put the numbers in to identify each one of the symbols. Many people have taken a stab of what it means. Nobody really knows. But I don't know that it's necessarily that deep. Here we have a boat. Sometimes a boat is just a boat, right? And then here's another picture from that same book. And you can see some of them are more simple. This one has a sun. We got some people, some animals running around. Seems like a nice little village, more deer running around. This one is more decorative. So this guy, he went there when did he go in there? 1682. So this is from the late 1600s, which is really a long time ago, right? At school today, I was telling one of the kids, they were talking about, I forget what they were talking about. I don't remember. But I went there to that school. So I said, I went here in 1984. And the kids were like, oh, 1984. They were practically rolling on the ground. They were beside themselves. They were like, you're so old. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Holidays in Soviet sanatoriums, the weird and wonderful wellness palaces of the USSR. We are going to just look at the pictures because that's the best part. So there's a long and rich history of, wait a minute, this isn't long and rich history of Laura messing up the pictures. Now let's try it. No, you know what? It's not working. Okay. We're just going to have to scroll one by one. Okay. So there's a rich history in Soviet Union and also Eastern Europe, really, of spas. Going to the spa, going to the sanatorium. And Soviet holiday. I said it wouldn't be a Soviet holiday without crude oil baths, radon water douches, and regulated diets. Visiting a Soviet-era sanatorium is like stepping back in time. Vestiges of another age linger all around, in fragments of decades-old wallpaper stubbornly clinging to walls, or colorful mosaics glorifying the Soviet worker. Plants of all shapes and sizes inhabit every corner, while Spartan guest rooms with single beds evoke a bygone era when guests traveled to sanatoriums alone. Mealtimes, too, are unforgettable, with food in more shades of beige than you ever thought possible. So these were some of the most ornamental and creative buildings of their time. It's like they were allowed to be creative within these types of buildings. And we have some sort of hyperbaric chamber. Here we have a bunch of guys walking around a pole in a pool. This is cupping. This is still something that's done today. That's when they take a glass and I think they light it on fire and then stick it to your back. Something like that. Look at this amazing pool, though. I would love to run around in that pool. That looks so much fun. I'm not sure what they're doing in this picture. It looks like they're putting a cone of light up their nose, presumably to kill the germs. In this picture, we have a monkey. Why? I do not know. There is a monkey. This is kind of a sad little fountain. Look at this place. It's huge. I would love to be zapped there right now so I could just run around and check everything out. Here we have a woman in some sort of, I don't even know. Pretty cool. I kind of feel like we could use a little bit of that in our culture, where it becomes, and by culture I mean like Western culture, where, like this weekend I'm going to go to the sanatorium and I'm going to go swimming. Like, there's no place to go swimming around here unless you're like rich or something. Like, there's like no pools. There used to be pools back when I was a kid. There were a couple pools that you could go to. Not anymore. You have to spend a lot of money. In today's map world, like new places to discover. We have 2 new places that I learned about within the past couple days. The first one is Large Yab, and you might say, Large Yab, what is that? It's probably Large Yab. Large Yab? It's at the foot of the Himalayas, so this is like really kind of way out there. It's in Ladakh. If we look at the map, it's all the way... Wait, is this it? Yeah, I think it's over there. At any rate, I was looking at this place because it's a very small, very insignificant town at the base of the Himalayas, but they recently discovered uranium there, so maybe not so small for much longer. This is Matua, and you might say, Matua? Where is Matua? I'm going to show you where Matua is. And you're going to be like, what? Your mind's going to be blown. I know my mind was blown. I was like, what? Here we go. Matua is in here. Somewhere on this peak. And you say, what? Where is that? Let's scroll way out. And it's in the Sakhalin Islands. And this particular island belongs to Russia, but as you may recall from previous episodes, part of the island belonged to Japan. So I'd say they're kind of split, but that's a very simplistic way of putting it. Water and Power Associates. So you guys know how I feel about Google, right? And how it's harder and harder to find things. And the reason why that is because everything is monetized. And heaven forbid somebody get their hands on information that they haven't freaking paid for or don't deserve to have or what, or shouldn't have, or I don't even know. It's so strange. Anyhow, you can find a lot of cool stuff by going to Water and Power websites. A lot of old pictures that you might not necessarily be able to find anywhere else anymore. This is Glendale, California. I am not from Glendale, California. I do not know anybody from Glendale, California. But I said to myself, wow, these are some really amazing pictures. If I was from Glendale, California, I would want to see these pictures and bug out over them. So I'm including it here for anybody who may know somebody or may be from or may be visiting. If nothing else, it is a snapshot of what it looked like out west in Glendale, California in 1905. And you can see that while there is some burgeoning civilization happening, it's still pretty like primitive. Primitive as in it's not as built up. I shouldn't say primitive. It's less built up than it became. Glendale's, I think, significantly more built up now. Let me look it up. Glendale, California. Glendale, California. 196,000 people. What was the population of Glendale, California in 1905? In 1905, probably not a lot. It was established in 1884. I can't imagine that it would have gotten too far. Okay, here's the population. So the population in 1905 had to be 13,700 or smaller, because that's what it was in 1920. And then in 1930, it was 62,000. So it grew very, very quickly and became a very popular city. genteel. You can see eating a Spanish dinner under the pepper trees at Casa Verdugo. There's lanterns hanging above the diners. Some more pictures of Casa Verdugo. So this will be in the links for you to enjoy. Just some random stuff that I find interesting. Now there's a location in Cornwall that is known as King Arthur's Hall. Archaeologists knew that it was old, but they didn't know how old it was. They actually thought it was constructed in the Middle Ages. But imagine their surprise, 4,000 years ago. Maybe even as old as 5,000 to 5,500 years ago. Let's see. So it has Neolithic origins, which this archaeologist is thrilled about. It's an enigmatic site. There are some standing stones. Where's a picture of it? It's called King Arthur's Hall, but it's like this square, and there's a ring of stones around it. You can kind of see it here. Like it looks like these are people bending over. They're not. These are stones. So there's like a mound with a defined outline, and then within the inside of the mound there are stones. And then in the inner part, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's in the inner part. But it's pretty neat. Pretty neat. All right, you guys ready for Conspiracy Land? This is what I found this week. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Project Aquarius. So, someone wrote this, submitted it to the CIA, and the CIA included it in a report because it had been submitted, not because it was necessarily true. But conspiracy theorists have run with this and have said that this document is true. And I initially scoffed at this being true. I don't think it's true. But there are flashes of brilliance within this thing. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So, of all the cases of human contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, one case in particular stands out as being the most significant with potentially bombshell implications. This is the account of Dr. Dan Burish, a microbiologist, and his contact with an extraterrestrial known as J-Rod at Area S4, which is 12 miles south of Area 51. So, let me read part of that again. This is the account of Dan Burish and his contact with an extraterrestrial known as J-Rod. So this guy was approached by government types. He was known for his microbiology work. They were seeking him out. He was promised access to the latest scientific laboratory equipment, and was assured that budgetary funding would never be an issue. And by 1987, here's an interesting thing. So in 1986, the contact stopped. So there was like an interview process before any of the J-Rod stuff. And then he was like, he didn't hear anything. So he's like, I didn't hear anything. So then he did what any doctor of microbiology would do, I guess, which is he decided to explore a possible future as a priest with the Roman Catholic Church. He underwent psychological and other assessments and started at St. Patrick's School of Theology in Menlo Park, California. After leaving seminary school in 1987 with no further contact by the government, Dan began to work as a parole and probation officer for the state of Nevada. This guy sounds crazier than me. So he was a microbiologist approached by the government, then went to school to be a priest, and then ended up being a parole and probation officer. But all of that within like 2 years. That's crazy. By 1989, Dan had been promoted to the court services unit after single-handedly capturing a bank robber at gunpoint in downtown Las Vegas. So, anyhow, he was working for the probation department. And then he was contacted again by the government. And also by the end of 1989, he had completed a dissertation in defense for his doctorate in cellular biology. Then he was bedridden. Very confusing. And then a relationship with somebody. I don't even know. Oh my God, this is such a mess. I thought this was better written than this. This is like nuts. But then again, my life written down and put on paper, parts of it may sound pretty nuts to people as well, but not quite like this. Like, I certainly didn't go to seminary school, I can tell you that right now. Anyhow, it goes on and on and on. Then he was in Desert Storm, more government work. But in 1994, he received and accepted an offer to work on a top secret program known as Project Aquarius. At the Papoose Lake facility, which was also known as the Dark Side of the Moon. Dun, dun, dun. Security measures were very oppressive. Armed guards, optical scans, voice print identification, showering, weighing, shaving, decontamination. He was given a Q clearance. And then he was working for a group called Majestic. It was here that Dan would come in contact with physical evidence that truly challenged his belief system. He learned that the U.S. military was in possession of hardware not originating from this planet. Now, this is the part where it starts to get... You can read if you want to know why there's a picture of Neil Diamond here. It's kind of interesting. This is where it starts to take a turn into stuff that I find it feels like there's a whiff of truth in here somewhere. These are mock-ups. These are not actual pictures, but this is what the facility would have looked like. So if you were up above and you were looking down, you would see just a normal rock mountain, but the whole inside of the rock mountain is cut out. And there's a door to the facility that's probably inside this little area here. The door uses a double sliding configuration. That's probably for extra security. There's even a little drawing of how that door would work. The S4 facility has 9 hangar bays, which are built into the side of Papoose Mountain Range at an angle of 60 degrees. The exterior texture of the bay doors were specifically designed to blend in with the surrounding background. A unique walkway consisting of parallel blue and red lines led directly to the front entrance. Dan was told to always stay within the blue lines and never, ever, ever, ever break the boundaries of the exterior red lines. Security guards along this oppressive walkway had a shoot-to-kill orders to neutralize anyone who breached the red lines. Area S floor, subfloor layout. Now, like I said, this is where... I'm just like, either this person is crazy or a genius, or they spent all their time like drawing stuff in books. I don't know. Here we have the flying saucer and how it's displayed. It's on this tilty thing. Level 1 housed fire control equipment, dining facility, communications, security surveillance, avionics laboratory, archives of the files department. Provisions for a propulsion research library also housed in the first floor. Cafeteria seating arrangement was broken down into specific projects. The members of MJ12, the Majestic group, they had their own designated table. So I guess you weren't supposed to mingle with the other people. This is what it looked like in the hallway. Very normal looking. According to him, there was a poster that said, I want to believe. I want to believe that there was a poster that said, I want to believe. There's the badge area. There would have been probably a guard there. And then we have the view of upper catwalk looking down the length of the 9